It was the day of a family dinner centered around my 3 months-old son, Alexander. While everyone was enjoying their meal, my 8-year-old niece, Emma, was the only one not eating. Instead, she was intently watching Alexander. Alexander was also staring back at Emma, moving his arms and legs. Seems like Alexander has something to say. Then Emma began to speak, and what she said was astonishing. My husband Michael's face turned pale and his lips trembling. Michael had been called out on a secret he thought only he knew. Seeing this, I decided to expose Michael's truth right then and there. I'm Jessica, a 25-year-old housewife. I married Michael, who is 3 years older and works in an office 2 years ago. Despite the challenges of new motherhood, we were living a happy life as a family of 3. My sister Sophia and her husband live nearby. Ever since I was pregnant, Sophia has been a great help, often coming over to assist with chores and keep me company. One day, Sophia told me something unbelievable. Her 8-year-old daughter, Emma, my niece, apparently has a mysterious power. Sophia recounted an incident. When she and Emma were driving, Emma suddenly said, "We should take another route. There will be an accident if we go this way." Sophia didn't understand why Emma would say such a thing, especially when the road ahead looked clear. But Emma looked so serious that Sophia decided to change routes. The next day, we learned from the news that a major accident had occurred on the road they were initially going to take. Sophia was horrified to think what might have happened if she had ignored Emma's warning. There were other instances too, like when Emma predicted a burglary in the neighbor's house, which actually happened. However, Sophia had warned the neighbors in advance, so they were able to evacuate with their valuables, avoiding any loss. I am not a fan of the occult, so I just found Sophia's stories creepy, and I didn't really believe Emma had any special powers. I told Michael about it, but he also brushed it off, saying, "Well, strange things do happen." By the way, ever since I got pregnant, Michael started coming home late, often drunk. I wished he would help me with the baby or the housework, even just a little, but that never happened. He had promised to co-parent when we found out I was pregnant, but after the birth, he left all the child care to me. Finally home. Michael's drunken voice would wake up Alexander, who I had just put to sleep. Holding a crying Alexander, I told Michael, "Please keep it down, you're waking Alexander, and can you please cut back on the drinking and come home earlier?" Michael yelled back, "I have work obligations, okay? You should be grateful you can live this way. Stop nagging me." His shouting woke Alexander again, who cried even louder this time. I was angry at Michael's words, but arguing with a drunk person was pointless. All I could do was put Alexander back to sleep. 2 weeks later, Sophia and Emma came to visit on a day when Michael was home. Seeing Alexander for the first time, Emma said, "He's so tiny and cute," and was completely enamored with the baby. But after a while, Emma started glancing at Michael. Curious, I asked, "Emma, what's going on?" Emma replied, "Jessica, it looks like Alexander has something he wants to say." Looking at Alexander in his crib, he was staring at Emma. Then Emma said, "This is a secret from Michael," and whispered something in my ear. Upon hearing it, I was so shocked that I lost my words and stared at Michael. Michael, who knew nothing, simply met my gaze. I said to Emma, "But Alexander is just a baby, he can't talk." Emma looked serious and said, "It's true, he's saying he doesn't want to be away from Mommy, and to be careful around Daddy." I couldn't believe what Emma was saying, but her earnest expression and teary eyes made me wonder. After Sophia and Emma left, I asked Michael, "Do you have any secrets from me?" Michael quickly replied, "Why would you say that?" "Just asking." "I have no secrets, you have nothing to worry about," Michael said. "All right," I responded, but despite his words, Michael seemed anxious and his behavior was suspicious. Then he started doing something he never does, changing Alexander's diaper. This made me even more suspicious of him. Is Michael hiding something from me? I couldn't get what Emma had said out of my mind, and I started to doubt Michael. The next day, after Michael left for work, Sophia and Emma suddenly showed up. Sophia apologized. Sorry for coming unannounced. Emma insisted on coming over. Emma's expression was dead serious. It's okay, don't apologize. Emma, welcome. Come on in. As I said this, Emma entered and lovingly gazed at Alexander, who was sleeping in his crib. But while I was preparing drinks in the kitchen, I noticed Emma staring intently at Michael's study. Emma, what's going on? I asked. Jessica, it's hidden here, Emma said, pointing at Michael's bookshelf. Upon closer inspection, I found a hidden diary and some documents tucked between the books. I had no idea Michael kept a diary, but curiosity got the better of me and I read it. The diary revealed a horrifying plan that Michael was secretly plotting. I couldn't believe he was capable of such thoughts. My hands were shaking and I thought maybe Emma's mysterious power was real. When I showed the diary to Sophia, she gripped my hand and said, It's okay, I'll protect you. Sophia then suggested, If you're worried, would it be okay if Emma and I come over when Michael is off work? Tears welled up in my eyes, and I felt reassured. Of course, Sophia, thank you. Emma looked up at us, concerned. I guess Emma's mysterious power was real. I'm sorry for doubting it before. Sophia smiled and said, I told you so, but it's good that we found out before anything serious happened. Thanks to Emma, right? Thank you. You're welcome, Emma said, blushing with a shy smile. I felt my love for Michael turning into resentment. I can't let this go. I'll investigate whether what Emma is saying is true, and if it is, I'll get back at him. I decided to confront Michael at a dinner party where both our parents would be present. From then on, Sophia and Emma would visit our home whenever Michael had a day off. At first, Michael was hospitable, but he gradually became irritable whenever Sophia and her family came over. Eventually, despite Sophia and Emma being there, Michael wanted to go out just with me. Sophia, can you watch Alexander while we go on a date? Michael asked, but Sophia declined. Michael, no can do. Alexander cries non-stop without Jessica around. Right, Alexander? Still, Michael persisted. Come on, I think Jessica needs a change of scenery too. Just getting some fresh air could be refreshing. True, but do we need to go out for that? Why not just dip into the garden and get some fresh air? The weather is nice today, it'll feel good. Sophia always managed to counter Michael's arguments without upsetting him, so he had nothing to say. From that point on, Michael became increasingly irritable. Finally, the day of the dinner party arrived. My parents, in-laws, and Sophia's family gathered to have a meal around Alexander. I was busy preparing the dishes I had cooked early in the morning. Look here, Alex. Ah, so cute. Michael was filming. Seeing this, my father-in-law murmured, Michael has become a fine father, and my mother-in-law nodded, tears in her eyes. Our son Alexander was also smiling, surrounded by everyone. Then the dinner party began. In the cheerful atmosphere, only Emma was staring at Alexander without eating. Alexander was also staring at Emma, moving his hands and feet. Sophia said to Emma, Here, your favorite apple juice. But Emma didn't respond. Just when I was wondering if Emma was sensing something again, she said to Michael, Do you love money more than Jessica? The room fell silent at Emma's words, and everyone froze, staring at her. Why would you say that, Emma? I asked. Because that's what Alexander is saying, Emma replied, pointing at him. I exchanged glances with Sophia, but everyone else was confused. Michael chuckled and said, Emma, Alexander can't talk yet. You shouldn't lie like that, lightly touching her head. Emma forcibly shook off his hand. It's not a lie. The baby says Daddy is trying to push Mommy from a high place to get money. You mean me? I would never do such a thing. Alexander loves Mommy, so he's saying to stop being Daddy. While everyone was shocked, only Michael turned pale and his lips began to tremble. Stop messing around. Don't say such ridiculous things. Suddenly, Michael slammed the table and yelled. Emma's face tightened, and Alexander looked like he was about to cry. I wanted the dinner party to be pleasant, but that seemed impossible now. Michael had lost his temper at Emma's words before I could even bring up the topic. His reaction was like an admission of guilt. With a cold gaze, I confronted Michael. "So, you've been cozying up to a woman you met at a club and inflating company expenses, haven't you?" Michael looked flustered and said, "What are you talking about?" I thrust the diary I found on the bookshelf at him. "It's all written here. Are you planning to deny it? That's about a subordinate at work. I would never do something so stupid." Sweat was forming on Michael's forehead. "Reading someone's diary without permission is an invasion of privacy. I have no reason to be lectured by someone as low as you. What are you trying to say? Still playing dumb? You hatched a terrible plan to fix things before getting caught for embezzling, didn't you?" I opened the diary to the page detailing the criminal plan and shoved it in his face, but Michael looked away. "What is this? These are notes for a novel I thought of writing. Besides, a diary isn't evidence." "Really? Then what do you say to this?" I pulled out some documents. "You know what this is, right? A life insurance policy you hid, with a $100,000 payout on me. What were you planning?" Michael started to panic. "That is, you planned to kill me, collect the insurance money, and repay the embezzled funds. Isn't this solid proof?" Stuck for words, Michael could only say, "No." Emma had secretly told me this when she first met Alexander. "Michael wants money and is planning to push you from a high place." From that moment, although I found it hard to believe, I started to suspect Michael. Both sets of parents were frozen in shock. Cornered, Michael had nothing to say and hung his head, but then suddenly fell to his knees, clinging to my leg. "Jessica, I'm sorry. Please pay back the money I used." "Why should I?" Michael looked like he was about to cry. "Don't say that. We're married, right? Please, if the company finds out, I'll be fired. How will we live?" Michael had trivialized my life for his own benefit. I deeply regretted ever being with such a person. I peeled off the clinging Michael and said, "I can't be married to someone as horrifying as you. It's bad for Alexander too, so let's get a divorce." I then thrust a pre-filled divorce application at him. I also demanded a $20,000 settlement and $500 a month in child support. "No way! Alexander is still young. Paying that much money forever is a joke." "Stop arguing and sign the divorce papers already." Michael was stomping on the ground and wailing like a child. His pathetic display made me feel nauseous. Then my father-in-law, who had been silent until now, shouted, "Michael, enough is enough." He probably couldn't stand to see Alexander witnessing such disgrace any longer. "You have no right to refuse the divorce and the settlement." Pressured by his father, Michael reluctantly signed the divorce papers. After that, my in-laws apologized to us profusely and took Michael away, almost dragging him. The next day, I submitted the divorce papers to the court. I also contacted Michael's company to report his suspected misuse of company funds. Soon after, his misdeeds came to light, and he was apparently fired. To pay the settlement, child support, and restitution to the company, Michael had to sell his house. Now he's working as a living construction worker from morning till night. I considered reporting this to the police, but in the end, there was no evidence other than what Michael had written in his diary. So I decided to be grateful that, thanks to Emma and Alexander, the incident was prevented. Now I'm back at my parents' home, living a peaceful life with Alexander. Sophia and Emma come to visit Alexander almost every day. Alexander says he's happy to be with Mommy all the time. Emma told me this, and it put my mind at ease. I wonder if there is a way of communicating that only Emma and Alexander understand. And is it something that adults can't grasp? While pondering these thoughts, I look at Alexander's joyful smile and vow to continue pouring my love into him and protecting him with my own hands.